Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Blissful Sunday Trophy Roast. This is where I take your trophy list, I slam it for its incompleted / non-platinum games, and I give my advice as to how I would tackle your backlog. In today's episode, we'll be reviewing Pistol Shrimp. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first off, I'm going to assume that you weren't going for platinums in all of this time. So I won't judge you on that just yet. But points in your favour, you did complete the campaign, Killzone 2, God of War, Modern Warfare, Uncharted, Killzone 3. You've at least tried here. You've at least put in a decent amount of effort. And you know, whatever trophies you got, you got. So, a bit of forgiveness here so far. Next up, this is where you actually start earning some platinums. And you do a pretty good job of it. There's a couple here that you could do a bit better with. For example, Black Ops. All you're missing here, like let's go take a look. All you're missing here, go down, pretty much just zombie stuff. So that's all very, very obtainable. That's definitely a missed opportunity right there. Probably gave up a bit too early on Motorstorm as well. It's a fantastic game, and you did a fair amount of effort into it, but you could have easily done that game. Last of Us, I can forgive you on that. A lot of people know I'm not a fan of The Last of Us, but you do pretty well with the rest of this group here. You got the Infamous plat, Dead Nation, yeah. I'll give you a little bit of forgiveness on that as well. It's not easy. It's not the easiest if you're not into that type of twin stick shooter. You're very close with this, and so I'd say not familiar with it, but you could absolutely go and do that. Gran Turismo 5, that is a fantastic effort. I will give you a gold star for this effort. I could not do it. It's a ridiculous game. Like, they're ridiculous games. And you've done a really good job here. And there you've got some more platinums. So far so good. Like, once you started earning the platinums, things are looking up. Couple of little slip-ups, but so far, pretty good. As we move further up, I'm noticing a pattern. Seem to come and go in waves. So we had a couple of platinums down here that we looked at before. You got a little bit of a slip up there, a little bit of a gap. Then you earn a bunch of plats, some really good games in there. God of War, XCOM, not the easiest game. You get major props for that. Darkness 2, good game, at least in my opinion. God of War 2, fantastic game. Beyond Two Souls, decent game. Then you have a little bit of a gap here as well, where you've done a little bit of effort. Then you earn another big bunch of plats. Some great games in there as well. Wolfenstein, Resident Evil Revelations 2, Zombie Army Trilogy, Advanced Warfare. Again, you've done really well. A couple of little slip-ups, but you rally. You absolutely rally, and you really start to knock them out in big bursts. And as we move on, it's confirmed. You come and go in waves. Like, look at this big section of not too many plats. I mean, you did get Shadow of Mordor, which is an amazing game. You did get WRC 5. But, you missed out on Star Wars Battlefront. You didn't do Borderlands the pre-sequel, which is such an amazing game. And I didn't see Borderlands 1 before this, so you've started with this one, which a little weird. But yeah, look at this big gap, and then you earn a few more. Look at this big chunk of plats next. Like, you really just, when you go for it, you go for it. But there's definitely these little slip-ups. Rainbow Six Siege, fantastic game. Pretty difficult platinum. Well, not too difficult. A couple of iffy trophies. Far Cry Primal, great game. The Division, another great game. Uncharted Drake's Fortune, fantastic. Metro, Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3. You've absolutely smashed those out. So far, I'd rate you. You're doing pretty well. and the pattern continues. You move on further ahead, and you've got another big group of plats here. You've got Doom, Saints Row, Uncharted 4, Battlefield 4, Far Cry 4, all really solid games. And then you have this little gap up here where you miss out on Alien, Overwatch. You know, you've done a decent job of it, but you know, there's some stuff here that you could have easily done at the time. It might be difficult to go back to stuff like Overwatch now, but there's a lot of opportunities here. Yet again, as we go on, big gap here. And there we go, some more plats. A little bit of a gap in there. World War II, that's a very obtainable platinum. Very, very obtainable. Then you've got another big burst of plats. Couple of incompletes. Another big burst. One thing I will say is you've definitely improved. Even though you weren't that bad from the start and you did have quite a decent amount of plats, although some big gaps, it gets better and better in terms of, you know, platinum to non-platinum ratio, we'll say. I mean, there's a couple of missed ones here, but further up, look at all this. Heaps and heaps of platinums. Destiny 2. Very, very, very much a missed opportunity. So what have you got remaining? Let me guess. It's going to be the Prestige Raid. Yep. Complete the Leviathan Raid on Prestige difficulty. Not the easiest. You really do need to get a good group. But there should still be some groups available even now. I didn't do mine immediately after release. It definitely took me a little while as well to get mine done. But that is definitely possible. If you were to go back and clean up a game out of all the games you've got here, I'd try and get together a group for this. Definitely still possible. More and more plats. You know, you've really not missed out on much here. Not too familiar with Dirt 4, but you're pretty close. Maybe that's a potential one to go back to. I'm not too certain about that though. And it just continues. Obviously you're working on this right now, it's the most recent one, but you really do pick up, you know, the platinums as time goes on. You really start to commit. That is one thing. You have a commitment. For the most part, this is actually a really good list. I can't find too many areas here where I'd fault you too heavily. There's definitely some missed opportunities though. I saw Borderlands the pre-sequel. You haven't got Borderlands 1, you haven't got Borderlands 2, you haven't got Borderlands 3. These are all games you should definitely play, especially now the first Borderlands is on PS4. This is all stuff you could very easily go and do. Fantastic games. It would be a great addition to your collection. They're not that hard in terms of platinums. I mean, since you've already started the pre-sequel, you should go and do that. Don't think you got the platinum for it. No, you didn't get the platinum for it. So this is an entire series that you could do. You could commit to Borderlands for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks and get it all done. All in one big burst. All on PS4. All very possible. So definitely from what I can see, there's a few that you could go back and do. I mean, I already mentioned Borderlands, how you could pretty much start that entire series and knock out all of that. There are a few little things here that you could go and do. I already mentioned earlier that you could go and clean up Destiny 2. But you've got some other really good opportunities here. You could do Red Dead 2. You've just started that. Maybe it just wasn't your thing and you didn't really like it. I didn't see Red Dead 1 in there. So I would actually say at least go, if you didn't like Red Dead 2, at least go play the first one. At least play the single player and enjoy the story for what it is. And then maybe, you might be more inspired to come back and do this one. So another couple of games which you could potentially go and do. Call of Duty, World War II, and Black Ops 3. I don't remember them being particularly hard. At least World War II wasn't too bad. So I'm not sure what you're missing there. Let's go take a look. It's probably based on whatever other COD we looked at before. It's probably some zombie stuff. Yep, look at all this. All definitely possible to go back and do even right now. And then we have Black Ops 3. This was a bit of a grind. I can see why you maybe wouldn't have gone for platinum with this one. It was quite long. Wasn't overly difficult, but it was quite long. The campaign unrealistic. It was probably one of the tougher ones, I'd say. Pretty much all of the Shadows of Evil stuff. That's, again, very, very possible, but it definitely seems like you were not a fan of anything zombies related. That seems to be the case in all of the Call of Duties you've played. So just a few closing words. So this percentage completion here, it's hurt a bit by those earlier games. You know, that big burst that we showed right at the start, maybe a dozen or so games where you had a very low percentage in, and you know, you've got a few mixed in throughout all these big bursts of platinums that you've got very low percentages in. And obviously you haven't got the DLC done for all these games. So I think it's a bit deceptive that it could easily be a lot higher. And you've got some really, really tough platinums in there. You've done a lot of solid games that I would rate very highly, games which, you know, you've got some difficult ones in there. I mean, XCOM, that is your most rare platinum, and it's crazy hard. I wouldn't attempt that. Again, overall, you've done a really good job with this, actually. I'm actually quite surprised how well you did. Forgiving, you know, that first group of games might not have been trophy hunting right from the start, what I'm assuming. There's only a couple of things that I'd say could go back and clean up, but otherwise, you know, there's a chance to play all of the Borderlands games. You've got other series in which you could absolutely pick up and do. That is the one takeaway from this list that I really want to emphasize. There are so many other good games out there which you haven't even touched on. So Pistol Shrimp, my final rating for you is